What is going on, YouTube? My name is Nick, and welcome back to another episode of the Good Schmidt podcast. And this is episode 16, and today I'm going to be discussing a variety of sports-related topics. So in today's video, here are the topics in today's podcast. First, I'm going to discuss roster additions and subtractions prior to week 1 of the NFL season. I'm going to provide my thoughts on the Green Bay Packers after their first 2 games, as well as predict what I think will happen with the Saints game. I'm going to discuss the Major League Baseball playoff bubble. I'm going to briefly talk about the NBA playoff bubble. And lastly, I'm going to have an in memoriam section because there have been I want to commemorate 5 recent passings of influential people in sports and in the United States. So, starting off with roster additions and subtractions in the NFL prior to week 1. Starting off on Friday, September 4th, the Raiders released former Green Bay Packers safety Demarius Randall, who is still a free agent. I checked, I looked it up, he is still a free agent. And then on Saturday, September 5th, the Packers released wide receiver Jake Kumerow. I was sad, very sad to see him go. He was one of my favorite players on the Packers. And then on Monday, September 7th, the Detroit Lions signed running back Adrian Peterson to a 1-year, $1.05 million contract. And then on Tuesday, September 8th, we had 4 different moves being made. The first being the Buffalo Bills signing wide receiver Jake Kumerow to their practice squad. So he got picked up right away after the Packers released him. 3 days later, running back Kareem Hunt received a 2-year, $12 million extension from the Cleveland Browns. The Eagles signed former Green Bay Packers tight end Richard Rodgers to a $910,000 contract. Just under $1 million. And then a guy I was waiting to sign with a team in free agency for a long time, defensive tackle Jadeveon Clowney signed a 1-year, $13 million deal with the Tennessee Titans. Moving on to my thoughts about the Green Bay Packers here. Week 1, they had a great game against the Minnesota Vikings. I really liked how Rodgers played in this game, despite Minnesota playing rookie cornerbacks. They just didn't have the depth in the secondary due to injuries, and they lost players in the offseason due to free agency. There was an awesome safety by Jair Alexander in this game. He also had an interception and 5 total tackles, so an absolute huge game for Jair, and I believe the Packers can build off of this game in the future. Week 2 against the Lions, they did build off the last game, despite Detroit playing really badly. Rodgers again played well, and Aaron Jones absolutely popped off in this game. He had 18 carries for 168 yards. He averaged 9.3 yards a carry, and he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. And in addition to that, he added to his all-purpose yardage total with 4 receptions for 68 yards and a touchdown. So an absolute monster performance from Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams had some really tough runs in this game. I like to see that. The defense looked pretty solid in this game. They were better at stopping the run. And speaking of that defense, Chandon Sullivan had a 7-yard pick 6 in this game. That was pretty cool that he picked off Matthew Stafford and ran it back. And again, another high-scoring affair for the Packers. They scored 40-plus points for the second straight week, and they are looking to keep it rolling against the Saints on Sunday Night Football in New Orleans. And the Saints will not have wide receiver Michael Thomas, so that's really going to hurt their offense. And in addition, it is likely that Devontae Adams will be out for the Packers So what this means is MVS, Lazard, Jones, and Williams will need to play big roles on the offense. They're going to need to step it up. Also look for Robert Tonyan to get more targets from Aaron Rodgers. And a couple keys to this game. Pressure on Drew Brees is going to be important to stopping the Saints' attack, their offensive attack. And a big question for the Packers defense is, can they stop the ground game in Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray of the Saints? And I believe the Packers are going to win this game. I think they're going to win it by 10, and the Packers are going to keep it rolling this week against the Saints. On to the MLB playoff bubble, which will include 16 teams in the postseason, over half of the league's 30 teams. As for the breakdown in the playoff teams, there will be 3 division winners from each league that make the playoffs, 3 second-place teams in each division, and then 2 teams with the remaining best records. So 4 third-place teams will make it into the playoffs. And then that comprises the 16 teams, the division winners, second-place teams, and then the 2 teams with the best record in each league. As for the rounds in the playoffs, there's going to be a wild card series to kick things off, that will be a best of 3, and then a best of 5 division series like normal, league championship series, and World Series, and those will be best of 7s. And why is this a bubble, you may ask? That is because the division series, league championship series, and World Series are going to be played at neutral sites, and I will get to that momentarily after I mention that the wild card series will take place at the ballparks of the teams that will be playing in the series, and the team that will get home park advantage, I should say, will be the higher seed. So some of the neutral site locations here, we've got Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, which will host the National League Division Series, the NLCS, and the World Series. And we've got Petco Park, which will host the American League Division Series. Dodger Stadium and Minute Maid Park are the other parks that will host games. Minute Maid Park will host a National League Division Series, and Dodger Stadium will host an American League Division Series. As for attendance for these games, Commissioner Rob Manfred said he hopes to allow fans to attend the League Championship Series and World Series games in some capacity. I think this is a pipe dream because of the COVID complications, but at least he's remaining positive. This past week, quarantine started for players and their families. They have to quarantine 1 week prior to the playoffs. Only players in the quarantine on the 40-man roster and injured list will be allowed in the bubble, including their families as well. And the playoff rosters will include 28 players. In addition, there will be daily COVID testing in Texas and in California. Another thing to mention about the MLB playoffs, there will be no tiebreakers. Results will be determined by regular season stats, head-to-head record, and the higher winning percentage in division. There's also some other tiebreaker factors in the regular season, and I have an article for that which will be in the description that you guys can look at. And here are the dates for the playoffs via a CBS Sports article by Catherine. The wild card series begins on Tuesday, September 29th, and then on Wednesday, an 8-game day with every wild card series will be in action. On October 6th, the ALDS will begin. On October 5th, I should say. On October 6th, the NLDS will begin. I meant to say NLDS instead of ALCS. I had a typo there. October 11th, the ALCS will begin. October 12th, the NLCS will begin. And then the World Series will begin on October 20th. The latest possible date for the World Series, Game 7, if it is necessary, would take place on my birthday, October 28th. Here is a breakdown of the MLB postseason bracket. So you've got the wild card series, which is best of 3, taking place at a higher seed ballpark. And here's the breakdown for that. Division winner number 1 will take on wild card number 2. The National League second place team with the best record will take on the second best second place team in the National League and American League. It's the same for both leagues. But yeah, I'm just going to go through it on the National League side. But yeah, it is the same on the American League except for the locations. And then National and American Division winner number 3 will take on the third best second place team in both leagues. Yeah, that applies for both leagues, like I said. I'm not going to repeat that again. And then Division winner 2 will take on Wild Card 1. And like I said, the NLDS, the Wild Card Series, or the higher seed city will host in the Wild Card Series. As for the DS Series, as for the Division Series, those are best of 5s taking place in Arlington, Texas, Houston, Texas, San Diego, California, and Los Angeles, California. And then you've got the normal format for the Championship Series and World Series, except the NLCS will be in Arlington, Texas only. The American League Championship Series will be only in San Diego, California. And then the World Series will be hosted in Arlington, Texas at Globe Life Field. So yeah, there is the postseason bracket. A little bit confusing, but it makes sense once you look at this bracket. As for the playoff picture, updated on 9/27, and this is directly from MLB.com, not Quam. And I'm going to read this for y'all. So who has clinched so far? The A's became the first team to clinch a division title on Monday. Monday the 21st, this would be. Followed by the Braves and Dodgers on Tuesday, the Rays on Wednesday. The other teams that locked up their postseason berths included the Astros, which they locked up their berth yesterday. The Reds also locked up yesterday. Marlins, Blue Jays, White Sox, Twins, Yankees, Padres, Indians, and Cubs, who recently won the NL Central. The Cubs did. Who is next to get in, or who still has to get in the playoffs? The Cardinals and Giants can each clinch a postseason spot either by winning 2 more games or any combination of a victory or loss by the Phillies and Brewers, who still have a chance to get in as well. So that is your playoff picture. Moving on now to briefly mention the NBA practice bubble, which is taking place at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, I found this article about the practice bubble because I was curious about it when it was going to take place, and this one is specifically talking about the Charlotte Hornets, and they are referring to the practice bubble as the Gatorade Grind Camp. The bubble started this past Monday, involving the Hornets, like I said, and the 7 other teams not originally involved in the Orlando bubble. For more information, see this article, which will be in the description. And the final section of this video is an in memoriam section for 4 athletes and 1 very influential person in America. And I'm going to start out by giving my condolences to John Thompson Jr. Rest in peace to him. He passed away on August 30th at the age of 78. Thompson's nickname was Big John. He was a legendary Georgetown coach who led his team to the 1984 National Championship and 2 additional Final Fours in the 1980s. He was the 1988 USA basketball coach, and he led them to a bronze medal in the Olympics. So, yeah. Very sad that John Thompson Jr. passed away. Moving on to a legendary baseball pitcher, Tom Seaver, who passed away on August 31st at the age of 75. He was known by 3 different nicknames, the first being Tom Terrific, and he was also known as the Franchise and Boy Scout, but mostly he was just known as Tom Terrific. And Tom Seaver led the Miracle. He is most known for leading the Miracle Mets to their first World Series in 1969. He won 25 games and his first Cy Young Award in that year. Overall, Seaver played 20 seasons in Major League Baseball for the Mets, Reds, White Sox, and Red Sox. Tom was named the Rookie of the Year in 1967. He won 2 other Cy Youngs besides the one I mentioned. He was a 12-time All-Star. He is the Mets' all-time leader in wins, and he won 311 wins in his career. His other career stats include 3,640 strikeouts, 61 shutouts, and he boasted a 2.86 career earned run average. He also threw a no-hitter in 1978. And finally, Tom Seaver was inducted into the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame in 1992. Next up, we have another baseball player, and his name was Lou Brock. He passed away on September 6th. Lou Brock is a Hall of Fame left fielder who played for the St. Louis Cardinals, and he was known for stealing bases. He had a 19-year Major League Baseball career with the Cubs and Cardinals, like I mentioned, and he played from 1961 to 1979. His career stats include a .293 batting average, 3,023 hits, so he is a part of the 3,000 hits club. He had 149 home runs in his career, as well as 900 runs batted in, and like I mentioned with the stolen bases, he stole a lot. He stole 938 bases in his career. For Lou Brock's awards, he was a 6-time All-Star. He was an All-Star in 1967, 71, 72, 75, and 79. He is a 2-time World Series champion with the Cardinals, winning in 1964 and 67. Brock won the Roberto Clemente Award in 1975. He was an 8-time National League stolen base leader. He led the majors in stolen bases from 1966 to 69 and from 1971 to 74. The Cardinals retired Brock's number 20. And in 1985, he was inducted into the Major League. 1985, he was inducted into the MLB Hall of Fame. And in 2014, he was inducted into the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame. Next up, we have an American icon passing away in Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who passed away on September 18th at the age of 87. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Lou Brock was 81. I did not add that in the slide. But anyways, Ginsburg was 87 years old. She was a former Supreme Court justice appointed by Bill Clinton in 1993, and she served until her death, which was, very recently. She died of cancer, and according to National Public Radio, it was metastatic cancer of the pancreas. Here is a quote from NPR on Ginsburg. Architect of the legal fight for women's rights in the 1970s, Ginsburg subsequently served 27 years on the nation's highest court, becoming its most prominent member. Ruth Bader Ginsburg definitely left big shoes to fill for sure in the Supreme Court. Rest in peace to Justice Ginsburg. And on to our final tribute here, and this tribute is going to be toward Gale Sayers, who passed away on September 23rd at the age of 77. And if you didn't know, Gale Sayers was a former Chicago Bears great running back and return specialist. He played 7 seasons for the Bears from 1965 to 1971, and injuries limited his playing career to only 5 seasons of play. But he spent 7 total seasons on the Bears roster. Sayers awards with the Bears. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler from 1965 to 67, as well as he was also a Pro Bowler in 1969. He was a 5-time first-team All-Pro from 65 to 69. He was NFL's Comeback Player of the Year in 1965. He was a two-time rushing yards leader in the NFL, 1966 and 1969, and the Chicago Bears retired Sayers number 40. In college, Gale Sayers was known as, or in college, Gale Sayers played for the Kansas Jayhawks, and he was known as the Kansas Comet. And his awards with the Jayhawks include being a two-time consensus All-American in 1963 and 64. He was a three-time All-Big 8 Conference player, 1962 to 64, and the Kansas Jayhawks retired his number 48. In 1977, in the class of 1977, Gale Sayers was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame as well as the College Football Hall of Fame. As for Sayers' NFL stats, from 1965 to 71, Sayers rushed for 4,965 yards, 5 yards a pop, a carry, and he had 39 rushing touchdowns in his career. For his return yards in the NFL, he had 3,172 of those and 8 return touchdowns. His college career with Kansas spanned 3 seasons from 1962 to 64. Gale Sayers rushed for 2,675 yards as a Jayhawk, averaging 6.5 yards a carry, and he had 18 rushing touchdowns. So once again, rest in peace to Gale Sayers, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Lou Brock, Tom Seaver, and John Thompson Jr. Rest easy to all of you. You will all be remembered fondly. And here are my sources. So that is going to wrap up episode 16 of the Good Schmidt podcast, where I shared a bunch of sports news and paid tribute to some athletes and a Supreme Court justice. So once again, my name is Nick, and I am signing out.